The message arrived on a Tuesday. Admiral Park stood in front of the big screen as strange symbols changed into Korean words. The meaning was clear: fight or surrender. They call themselves the hegemony, said Dr. Kim, who studied alien languages. They want us to prove ourselves in battle. In the UN meeting room, everyone looked worried. Earth had always wondered about life beyond the stars, but no one expected the first aliens would come with threats. How long do we have? Admiral Park asked. 3 days, the message said. Get your best fighters ready or become our servants. Captain Lee got a call while training her team in Busan. Her special group, made for possible alien contact, was now Earth's main defense. The alien messenger appeared in Seoul's Olympic Stadium. Captain Lee watched through a window. The being was tall with shiny scales and 4 eyes. It seemed confused that humans were trying to talk peacefully while also getting ready for battle. Why do you talk about peace while preparing to fight? The alien asked. Because humans believe in hope, said the UN leader, but we also prepare for the worst. Over the next day, the world changed. News of aliens spread everywhere. Some people panicked, others prayed, and many just waited. Military bases around the world became busy with activity. Captain Lee met with her team. They were 20 of Earth's best soldiers, scientists, and strategists. We don't know how they fight, she told them. But we know how humans survive. We adapt. Scientists worked nonstop to understand the alien message and technology. They learned the hegemony had visited many worlds and always demanded the same test. If a species fought well, they became trading partners. If not, they became workers or worse. Admiral Park called a world meeting. We cannot win a direct battle against their technology, he explained. But Captain Lee has a different plan. Captain Lee showed her idea. They expect us to fight their way. We won't. Humans have always been good at surprising our enemies. The next day, Captain Lee took her team to meet Dr. Kim. He had studied the alien language more. They value strength above all, he explained. But their idea of strength is narrow. They think only of direct combat. That night, Captain Lee couldn't sleep. She stood on her balcony looking at the stars, wondering which one the aliens came from. Her phone rang. It was her father. June, he said, using her first name. I called to say I'm proud. I haven't done anything yet, she replied. You will, he said. He had been a soldier too. Remember what I taught you about fighting bigger opponents. Use their size against them, she answered, smiling at the memory of childhood judo lessons. On the 3rd day, the hegemony ambassador returned. World leaders gathered. Captain Lee and Admiral Park stood together as Earth's military representatives. The ambassador looked at them with its 4 eyes. Have you prepared your champions, or do you surrender? The UN leader stepped forward. We are ready. But first, we have questions. The ambassador seemed annoyed. Questions waste time. Knowledge is never wasted, Captain Lee said. We want to understand the rules of this combat. The alien explained. Their ships would land in a chosen location. Earth's forces would meet them. The battle would last until one side couldn't continue. And if we win? Admiral Park asked. No species has ever won their first assessment, the ambassador said. Its scales changed color slightly. Was that amusement? But if you did, you would earn respect and trade rights. And if we lose but fight well? Limited trade and protection, with tribute payments. And if we surrender now? You serve, but survive. The UN leader looked at Captain Lee, who nodded slightly. The human race does not surrender, the leader announced. We will meet your challenge. The ambassador's scales rippled. Prepare. Our ships arrive tomorrow. After the ambassador left, world leaders argued about strategy. Some wanted to use nuclear weapons. Others suggested hiding our best technology to surprise aliens later. Captain Lee listened quietly until asked for her opinion. The hegemony expects us to fight like them, she said. But humans have survived because we fight like humans. We use everything, not just weapons, but minds, hearts, and our stubborn will to live. She pointed to the map. They want a battlefield. Let's give them something they've never seen before. As the world prepared for alien ships, Captain Lee gathered her team. Tomorrow, we show the galaxy what humans really are, she told them, and it will surprise everyone, even us. The 3 alien ships arrived right on time, just as they had promised. They hung in Earth's sky like silver teardrops, beautiful yet threatening. Captain Lee watched from the command center as they settled into orbit. Other military leaders wanted to fire missiles immediately, but she held firm. "We stick to the plan," she said. "Let them make the first move." The aliens sent a message. They would land in the Gobi Desert for the assessment battle. They expected Earth's army to meet them there. Captain Lee smiled. This was exactly what she had prepared for. "They're thinking like aliens," she told Lieutenant Han. "We need to think like humans." While the world watched the 3 main ships, Captain Lee's team boarded 5 small black shuttles. These experimental craft used new technology that made them hard to detect. They launched quietly from 5 different bases around the world. They expect a traditional battlefield, Captain Lee told her squad as their shuttle rose through the clouds. "We won't give them one." Lieutenant Han checked his gear and nodded. Classical warfare died on Earth centuries ago. The hegemony landing ships touched down in the Gobi Desert, kicking up sand that could be seen for miles. They formed a perfect triangle. From these ships came alien soldiers in formation, their armor gleaming in the sun. They carried weapons that looked like spears but glowed with energy. Their commander, Tech, stood tall at the front. He wore more elaborate armor with markings that showed his high rank. He looked around, confused. There was no human army waiting to meet them. "Where are the Earth forces?" he asked his second in command. The battle was scheduled to begin at this hour. "Perhaps they have surrendered without fighting," the officer suggested. Tech shook his head. The preliminary assessment showed they were too proud for that. The first attack came from nowhere. Small explosions hit the sand around the alien formation. Not close enough to harm, but enough to scatter their perfect lines. The aliens spun around, looking for enemies, but saw only empty desert. Then came the second attack. Fast-moving vehicles appeared over a dune, fired weapons, and disappeared before the aliens could respond. When the hegemony forces moved to chase them, a third attack hit them from behind. "This is not proper combat," Tech shouted. "Where is their army? Where is their honor?" By nightfall, the hegemony forces had been drawn apart into small groups. Each time they tried to regroup, another hit-and-run attack separated them. The aliens had better weapons and armor, but they couldn't use them effectively against enemies they couldn't see. Captain Lee watched through night vision goggles from her hidden position. "Now," she said into her radio. Phase 2. Across the desert, her teams moved in. They targeted the smallest alien groups first, using stun weapons designed to work against the alien armor. Soon, they had captured 12 alien soldiers and one of their scout ships. Tech received urgent messages from his scattered forces. "Humans are taking prisoners," his officer reported, "but they aren't killing them." "What do they want?" Tech wondered. This wasn't how assessment battles worked. Species were supposed to show their strength through direct combat, not these sneaky tactics. At the human base, hidden in the mountains outside the desert, Captain Lee questioned the captured aliens. They were tall with 4 arms and scaled skin that changed color with their emotions. Currently, most showed colors that Dr. Kim said indicated confusion or distress. One alien looked up as Lieutenant Han carefully bandaged a wound on its arm. "Why do you provide medical care to your enemies?" it asked. Lieutenant Han continued his work gently. "Because once you're no longer fighting, you're not our enemy," he replied. "You're our responsibility." The alien's scales rippled with a new color pattern. Meanwhile, other human teams studied the captured scout ship. Engineers and scientists worked quickly to understand its technology. They discovered its communication system, and with Dr. Kim's help, began to decode it. By the third day, Tech was frustrated. Half his force had been captured. The others were exhausted from constant small attacks that came from everywhere and nowhere. Every time they adjusted their tactics, the humans changed theirs. This is not warfare as we understand it, Tech told his remaining officers. They refuse to meet us honorably on the battlefield. Yet they are winning, one officer pointed out. Captain Lee's final move came at dawn. Her teams had surrounded the main alien ship during the night. Using technology they'd learned from the scout ship, they'd bypassed its security systems and entered. When Tech returned to his ship, he found Captain Lee sitting calmly in the command center. "How did you get in here?" he demanded. Captain Lee stood up. "The same way humans have survived throughout our history," she said, "by adapting, learning, and finding new ways to solve problems." "You have dishonored the assessment," Tech said. "No," Captain Lee replied. "We've shown you exactly who we are. The question is, what will you do about it?" The hegemony leaders couldn't believe what they were hearing. Tech's reports described battles unlike any they had seen in thousands of years of conquering worlds. "These humans are different," Tech explained in his transmission. "They don't fight properly, yet they win. They capture our soldiers instead of killing them. They treat prisoners well while taking apart our machines to learn how they work." The High Commander's scales turned dark purple with anger. "This is unacceptable. The assessment has rules." "The humans do not seem to care about our rules," Tech replied. At the human base, Captain Lee sat across from Tech. He was no longer just a prisoner but someone she talked with regularly. Their first meetings had been stiff and formal. She asked questions. He gave short answers. But over time, something changed. "Would you like to try this?" Captain Lee asked, offering Tech a cup of tea. Tech sniffed it carefully before taking a small sip. His scales rippled with surprise. "This is pleasant. My grandmother made it for me when I was sick as a child," she explained. Tech tilted his head. "You offer an enemy commander your family remedy." "You're not just an enemy commander anymore," she said. "You're our window into understanding your people." Tech found humans puzzling. In the evening, Captain Lee took him to see a concert where people played soft music about love and peace. The next morning, she showed him weapons that could destroy cities. "Your species confuses us," Tech told her as they walked through the base. "You sing about peace but build terrible weapons. You have many different languages and governments instead of one system. You fight each other all the time, but when we arrived, you all worked together." Captain Lee nodded. "Humans are full of contradictions. We see it as strength, not weakness." In another part of the base, Dr. Song led a team working with the alien technology. They had taken apart the captured scout ship and were building new machines based on what they learned. "Look at this," Dr. Song said, showing Captain Lee a small device. "We combine their energy system with our targeting technology. It's twice as powerful and half the size." Captain Lee was impressed. "How long until we can make more?" "A few weeks for the first batch. We're getting faster as we understand the principles better." That night, Tech seemed troubled during their usual talk. "What's wrong?" Captain Lee asked. "I received a message from my superiors," Tech said after a long pause. "The hegemony has called for reinforcements. They believe your kind needs special handling." Captain Lee's face showed no surprise. "We expected that." "How many ships?" "Hundreds," Tech said. "You cannot win against such force." "Maybe not in a traditional battle," she agreed. "But as you've seen, humans rarely do things the traditional way." The next day, Captain Lee met with world leaders. Some wanted to build more weapons using the new technology. Others wanted to try talking with the hegemony again. Captain Lee suggested doing both. "We should prepare for war," she said, while still trying to find peace. One leader objected. "That's contradictory. We can't threaten them and talk to them at the same time." "Actually, we can," Captain Lee replied. "It's what humans have always done." She brought Tech to the next meeting. Some leaders were angry about having an enemy in the room, but Captain Lee insisted. Tech has helped us understand the hegemony, she explained. Now he can help the hegemony understand us. Tech stood before the human leaders. His scales showed nervous colors, but his voice was steady. The hegemony has existed for 40,000 years, he told them. In that time, we have encountered over 300 intelligent species. None have responded as you have. What makes us different? Someone asked. Everything, Tech said. You fight without fighting. You show mercy yet prepare for war. You are divided yet united. The hegemony does not know how to classify you. Later, Captain Lee found Tech looking at children playing in a park near the base. The alien watched silently as they ran and laughed. In the hegemony, Tech said quietly, children begin combat training at this age. Here, they just play, Captain Lee replied. Yet these playing children grow into soldiers who defeated my forces, Tech observed, and into doctors who treated your wounded, scientists who study your technology, and teachers who will tell the next generation about meeting your people, she added. Tech's scales showed a color Captain Lee had never seen before. What does that color mean? She asked. There is no human word for it, Tech said. The closest might be rethinking. That evening, reports came in that the hegemony reinforcement fleet had entered the solar system. They would reach Earth in 3 days. As alarms sounded across the base, Captain Lee found Tech standing alone, looking at the stars. Your people are coming, she said. Yes, Tech replied. And for the first time in my life, I am not certain who I want to win. The hegemony ships came out of nowhere. One moment the sky was empty. The next it was filled with hundreds of battleships. They were huge and shaped like arrowheads, arranged in perfect rows above Earth. Inside the main ship, the Supreme Commander looked down at the blue planet. His body was larger than Tech's, with scales showing his age and many battle scars that he wore proudly. Send the message, he ordered. Tell the humans they have 1 hour to surrender. His officers sent the message, then waited for the humans to beg for mercy. That's what most species did when they saw the full might of the hegemony. But the response was not what they expected. From Earth's surface, thousands of smaller ships rose into the sky. They weren't as big as the alien battleships, but they moved faster and glowed with strange energy patterns. What is this? The Supreme Commander demanded. Their planet showed no signs of such technology a few weeks ago. They have combined their technology with what they learned from our scout ship, an officer explained, his scales showing shock. It should have taken years, not days. The human ships formed groups, with one leading the others. That main ship sent a message to all frequencies. This is Captain Lee of Earth Vessel Harmony, the message said. We did not want this conflict, but we are ready for it. Remember, our goal is not to destroy, but to show what we can do. The Supreme Commander laughed. They still think this is an assessment. Let them learn the truth. Begin the attack. The space battle was unlike any the hegemony had fought before. Their ships fired powerful weapons that could destroy cities, but the human ships moved in strange patterns, sometimes working alone, sometimes in groups. They didn't try to match the hegemony's power. Instead, they aimed at specific parts of the alien ships, the engines, the weapon controls, the command centers. Hours passed. The Supreme Commander grew angry as reports came in. 20 hegemony ships disabled. 50 more damage. Yet the humans weren't destroying them completely, just making them unable to fight. Why don't they finish their kills? He shouted. This is not proper warfare. Meanwhile, Captain Lee stood on the bridge of the Harmony. Her ship had taken damage, and many others had been lost. But the plan was working. Phase 2, she ordered. Prepare the insertion team. While the battle continued around them, a small human ship approached the Supreme Commander's vessel. It looked like debris from a destroyed craft. The ship's sensors ignored it as it drifted closer. Inside were Captain Lee and 5 team members, including Lieutenant Han. They wore special suits that combined human and alien technology. When they reached the huge battleship, they attached themselves to its hull. "Remember the practice runs," Captain Lee said as they cut through the ship's outer layer. "We know exactly where to go." Thanks to information from Tech and study of the scout ship, they knew how to move through the alien vessel without being detected. They disabled security systems and avoided guard posts. On the bridge, the Supreme Commander was getting more frustrated. Where is their main attack? Why won't they fight properly? Suddenly, the doors to the bridge opened. Guards reached for weapons, but stopped when they saw the small team of humans already had weapons pointed at them. Captain Lee stepped forward, her helmet opening to show her face. "No one needs to die here today." The Supreme Commander stood up. He was 3 times her size, with battle scars covering his scales. "How did you get onto my ship?" "The same way we've done everything since you arrived," Captain Lee said calmly. "By using our minds as well as our weapons." She looked around the bridge. With a small device in her hand, she could send signals that would disable the main systems of every hegemony ship. The aliens didn't know this, but she wanted them to understand the situation. "We could destroy this vessel and your entire fleet," she said. "Instead, we offer terms." The Supreme Commander stared at her in shock. No species had ever reached his bridge during battle. No species had ever offered terms instead of begging for mercy or fighting to the death. "Your kind excels at warfare," he finally said. "Why do you hesitate to claim victory through our destruction?" Captain Lee lowered her weapon slightly. "Because humans have learned through our long, bloody history that true victory doesn't come from destroying an enemy," she replied. "It comes from transforming them into an ally." The bridge was silent. The Supreme Commander's scales showed colors even his officers had rarely seen: confusion, respect, and curiosity all mixed together. "You think we could be allies?" he asked. "After we came to conquer you?" "We think there's more to gain from working together than fighting each other," Captain Lee said. "And we're willing to prove it." She held out her hand, a human gesture of agreement. "Shall we talk about those terms now?" The Supreme Commander looked at this small human who had somehow defeated his undefeatable fleet. For the first time in his long life, he considered a different path than conquest. "I will listen," he said, "to these terms." 6 months had passed since the day humans surprised the galaxy. The battle that never truly became a war was now called the orbital stand in history books. Children played with toys of human and hegemony ships. Streets that once feared alien invasion now had alien visitors walking among humans. Captain Lee was captain no more. Now she was Ambassador Lee, wearing formal clothes instead of a uniform, as she represented Earth at the Galactic Council. The great meeting hall was filled with beings from 100 worlds. Some looked almost human. Others had many arms or eyes, or breathed different air. All watched with interest as the human took her place at the table. Beside her sat Tech, her former enemy turned advisor. He had asked to stay on Earth rather than return to the hegemony. Many found this choice strange, but Tech simply said he had more to learn from humans. "Are you ready?" Tech asked as they prepared for the day's meeting. Ambassador Lee nodded. "As ready as anyone can be to speak for an entire planet." Tech's scales showed a color that meant amusement. "Your species has caused quite a stir," he said. "The ripples of your actions are felt across many systems. Several worlds that the hegemony conquered long ago have asked for new rules of assessment based on your example." "They want to fight like humans?" she asked. "They want the choice not to fight at all," Tech explained. "Something we never offered before." The Supreme Commander entered the hall, his massive form commanding respect. His battle scars remained, but now he wore diplomatic symbols alongside military ones. He nodded to Ambassador Lee with what humans had learned was a gesture of respect. The changes had not been easy or quick. Many in the hegemony wanted to return with an even bigger fleet to crush Earth, but the Supreme Commander had stopped them. "I have seen what these humans can do with just one of our scout ships," he had told them. "Imagine what they would do if we gave them reason to truly prepare for war." Instead, trade began. Cultural exchanges followed. Earth became a place where other species came to learn new ideas and share their own. After the council session, Ambassador Lee met with leaders from 7 different worlds. They had scales, fur, feathers, and skin of many colors. They asked about human warfare, human peace, and how the two could exist together. "Your people confuse us," said a tall being with bright red feathers. "You make beautiful art about peace, but design terrible weapons. You have not united your planet under one rule, yet you speak as one in the galaxy." Ambassador Lee smiled. "The very thing that confused you is our greatest strength," she explained. "Humans know bad things can happen, so we prepare for them. But we always hope for better. We know we can be violent, and that's exactly why we try not to be when possible." A small furry being spoke up. "In our world, we believed we had to choose. Be peaceful and weak, or strong and cruel. You show another way." That night, Ambassador Lee stood with Tech on the roof of the new Interspecies Cultural Center in Seoul. Ships from many worlds hovered overhead, their lights mixing with Earth's stars. "1 year ago today, we received your message," she said. "The ultimatum that changed everything." Tech's scales shifted to a thoughtful blue. "The irony is not lost on me," he said. "We demanded conflict, and humans responded without hesitation, but not as we expected." "We just did what humans have always done," Ambassador Lee replied. "Found a different way forward." Below them, the cultural center was filled with humans and aliens sharing food, music, and ideas. Human children played games with young aliens. Scientists from different worlds compared notes on new discoveries. The hegemony taught that strength comes from unity, from everyone following the same path, Tech said. "But your world shows strength in difference. One human thinks one way, another thinks differently, and from that disagreement comes innovation. We call it diversity," Ambassador Lee said. "It's not always easy or comfortable, but it works." The Supreme Commander joined them on the roof. Even after months of meetings, his size still impressed. "The younger generations in the hegemony are changing," he said without greeting. "They question our oldest traditions. Some call it disorder." "And what do you call it?" Ambassador Lee asked. The Supreme Commander was quiet for a moment. "Growth, perhaps," he finally said. "Painful but necessary." As the celebration continued below, a small girl ran up to them. She gave Ambassador Lee a drawing she had made, simple but clear. It showed human and alien hands reaching toward each other. "My teacher said you helped the aliens understand us," the girl said. "I think that's better than fighting." Ambassador Lee knelt down to the child's level. "I think so too." After the girl left, Tech's scales showed that special color he had developed on Earth, the one that meant rethinking. "Perhaps that is humanity's gift to the stars," he said. "Not your technology or art, but your contradictions, your ability to find strength in paradox." Around them, the future of the galaxy took shape. Beings who once would have met only on battlefields now met as friends, traders, and allies. The universe was learning something humans had known all along, that the hand that can make a fist can also reach out in greeting. The end